diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on a step up.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. The Freight Coach Morning Show, the top transportation morning show in our industry out there, coming to you live every single weekday morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Central, to break down three industry headlines and just provide a different perspective for you guys out there who are in the day-to-day, the grind, and what we call this beautiful industry of transportation. As you guys can see, I have a very special guest for you guys here today. I keep telling you guys to reach out to this man. He's with VHub. VHub is what makes this show possible every single day for you guys. So Xavier, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everybody.
No,
my phone's ringing off the hook as a result of the show.
So already. See, that's what happens, man. When you're about progress, when you're about help, when you have a service out there that legitimately helps this industry, that's just what happens with it, So we're out there, again, you guys, asset reutilization is the wave of the future in freight. It's here. It's not even the wave of the future. It's the present. And it is also the future out there. You guys, brokers and carriers alike, we need trailers. VHub has this opportunity for you. So as always, we're going to break it down. Like, as you guys can see coming across the bottom of the ticker, we have the asset repositionings and everything else that's out there coming out in York, Pennsylvania. And from there, we are able to send some freight up into Canada. And these are the lanes that we're going to talk about here. And again, these are just examples. So as you guys can see, York, Pennsylvania has repositionings going up into Coteau-du-Lac as well as Mississauga, Ontario. You guys, and then from there, they have more freight that you can drop. You take your one-way load up there, drop that trailer, go grab another empty, and head back out. Look at these current destinations that they have out there. This is out of Coteau-du-Lac, for example, going down to Chicago, St. Louis, Columbus, Ohio, back down to the York/Shippensburg, PA area. And then on top of that, you guys, as you can see, you get paid. So drivers out there, you get paid to reposition this on top of the freight that you throw in the trailer. All right. So this is another value add that is available to you guys through the VHub app. And then they have their one-way trailer rentals. All right. So out here in Glade Spring, Virginia, for example, they have trailers, and you can see you got 10 of them needing to go up into Winnipeg, 10 of them needing to go up into Edmonton, and 20 over to Vancouver, BC. So again, and as you can see right there, $18.50 is what you get paid to run it on top of the freight you throw in there. So
that's incremental revenue, Chris.
That's right.
Incremental revenue. That's a big chunk of change. It's going to help offset a lot of fuel costs.
Dude, and that's exactly it, man. And that's so usually I say reach out to Xavier Campos. He's in the show, but now he's on the show. You guys can see.
Reach out now.
Reach out to him right now about this. Again, you guys, like, when it comes down to it, when I partner with companies about like for my content and stuff, you guys, they're all about progress in the industry. They're all about taking care of the little guy, and that 97% of those drivers that are on the road right now who are small fleets who might not have access to this. And then brokers as well. Every single time we're faced with an objection out there, it's because we don't have assets. This is out there. This is a massive value add. So Xavier, before we kind of jump into the rest of the show, man, how did you get started in freight and transportation, and especially at VHub here?
My own personal story, I came from the dealership side of things. I worked as a marketing director for a very large international truck dealership in Los Angeles that had 4 locations. And I rapidly found out that this industry was more relationship driven, I think, than any other industry in my entire career. So I've been on the sales and marketing side for quite a long time. But the amount of, I think, camaraderie, just synergy, long-standing relationships that were in and around the trucking industry were incredible. And at that particular point, when I jumped in and I started dealing with the trucking industry, I knew I wanted to stay in a lot of different capacities. So kind of fast forward to my association with VHub, it's kind of interesting. I was reading an article one day in Transportation Topics, and the article happened to be about what was being created in Canada with this rogue group that had splintered away from one of the subsidiaries of Can-Am Steel, which is kind of at the apex of our family tree. And then directly underneath that is Manac Trailers. And underneath Manac Trailers is the finance arm, which is Finlock. Well, the part of the leadership group of Finlock created this new technical platform that we now call VHub.
Yeah.
And they were writing about it, and it was in its first year, I think, of operation. And I was kind of so intrigued about what they were doing. And towards the end of the article, they were sharing the fact that they wanted to plant the flag in the US. Immediately I said, you know what, I want to throw my hat in the ring. I want to join this group. This seems like something that's just going to be a tremendous opportunity that's really going to kind of revolutionize freight forwarding, asset utilization. I mean, you name it. So I was fortunate enough to be asked to join the group, and I'm just surrounded by a great group of individuals, and I'm very happy to be with the group.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And hey, everybody, thanks for joining. Samantha Bass, Arun Deep, what's going on? John Burkhalter. I appreciate you calling me the freight goat. That means a lot. Chandler, I would love to see my face on the side of a digital print on side of VHub trailers. I think that would be phenomenal. So I am not going to argue that. Mark Groves, what's going on, you guys? Those are my friends over at Port TMS. Check them out. Tammy, good morning as well. Thank you guys all for joining me. Hey, just a quick little reminder out there, International Road Check, May 17th through the 19th. We got wheel end components that are the focal point on that. As you guys also saw, the national average for gold is up to $5.62 a gallon, aka diesel fuel. It doesn't look like there's an end in sight with that. And yeah, that's another one of those things that control what we can control. And also, we're at day 23 of the Freight Coach Tally of there being an issue with bathrooms as well as parking in this industry. And I had a driver literally send me a picture of a sign at a facility out there yesterday. I'm not going to say who it was, but again, just stop going into those facilities, you guys. I think it's pretty simple. If you want to see a change in it, stop going into it. Brokers, you want to add value to your carrier partners, talk to these facilities if they have these available. And if they don't, for whatever reason, is that really something you want to deal with? I don't know. I think that there's plenty of facilities out there who don't do that to drivers. They have adequate facilities. Those are the ones that we need to work with. That's how you're going to actually see that change out there, in my opinion, because, I mean, I don't think any one of us would go somewhere for 8 hours and not be able to use a restroom. So we are going to jump into some industry headlines. And our first one today is going to be from Transport Topics. Title of the article is "The NHTSA Seeks to Extend Data Collection for Safety Tech Study." The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration plans to continue gathering data for its crash avoidance field study that is seeking comments from commercial motor carrier drivers about their beliefs and attitudes towards safety technologies. In a May 9th announcement, the agency said it first must seek approval from the White House Office of Management and Budget to extend the driver survey comment period on heavy vehicle crash avoidance systems, delayed in part by the COVID epidemic. NHTSA is gathering information regarding drivers' naturalistic driving experiences and options or opinions about crash avoidance systems consisting of lane departure warning, forward collision warning, impact alert, and automatic emergency braking systems for heavy vehicles. Xavier, you worked for a dealer, right?
Yes.
What was the big emphasis on? Because again, when it comes to safety measures that's out there, I don't, like, to make my stance very clear, I don't believe in the government telling somebody what to do for their business, but I love the information being put out there. And John Burkhalter, he works for an insurance company. He can probably talk about the importance of adding these additional features to your truck. So from your experience on that side, man, what additional safety measures have you seen that are available for drivers from the get-go, from the initial purchase of their truck?
Well, I was with International when they launched a big telematics push, and the telematics push at the time they rolled it out, it was called On Command. So this geofencing technology, which was basically a beacon alert when any of these new trucks would come into a geofenced area of one of the dealership locations, all the sensors would then kind of be triggered, and an individual back in the shop, let's say, would have a dedicated screen that he would be able to kind of track vehicles coming in that had this telematic system on there. And it would run a quick diagnostic check. And if there was anything that needed to be addressed before there was an actual failure of some sort, we would have the opportunity to contact individuals that were either own the truck or were driving the truck to let them know, hey, your brakes are low, an airline, tires, I mean, you name it, anything that had a sensor attached to it, all that telematic data would be sent to our command center, and they could proactively alert those individuals to, hey, if you're going to be in town for a while and you want to avoid an expensive tow, come on in and we can get this checked out. That to me is revolutionary. And International was just one of many companies that got on board to do that type of geofencing and being proactive with and avoiding breakdowns.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to kind of touch on that a little bit, I want to dive in a little bit deeper on that. But Andrew Teal, one of the smartest guys I know in this industry, because he's got a ton of experience out there. When he was with the dealer, people liked the information given to them, blind spot indicators, but they weren't as thrilled when the truck took action without their input.
Yeah.
So with my truck that I drive every day, that was tough to get used to, but I definitely appreciated it the first time I was driving at night, coming around a corner, and it braked my vehicle because it sensed the car that was broken down on the side of the road that I may or may not have hit if that wouldn't have happened. So I think that a lot of the initial pushback is that uncomfort of it until your life gets saved and you're like, oh shit, I see the complete benefit of having something like this. But then it's like, I mean, talking about just like the preventative maintenance aspect of it alone, like those sensors giving you a heads up, like, hey, this is about to go. I mean, as we know, International Safety Check is coming up May 17th through the 19th. That 72-hour window that's out there. This literally gives you that information to get ahead and keep running during these times. And then because like, it's a lot easier and cheaper to maintain a vehicle than it is to have it towed in and shut down for 3 days and everything else. And you can plan this stuff around there. I think it is getting ahead of it. And it is about, it's more about, like my point is this is what keeps people rolling though, because you can schedule this around your 36 hour or 72-hour shutdown, or if you have a shutdown coming up or you're going to be gone, drop your truck off at the shop, get these repairs done to keep them running so you don't have any additional downtime. It also goes on to say in there, in this article that, however, it is unknown if the newest generation of products has been able to reduce the prevalence of false or nuanced alert observed in previous studies. If there are any issues with the new types of alerts that have been added since the previous studies, or whether drivers have negative perception of the technology due to these issues. And, Teal, I think that's very right. There is going to always be pushback until it saves their life, and I think that's when the overall adaptation is going to be more widely accepted. Again, I don't believe in somebody mandating this stuff, but I also feel like when it's presented to the business owner of the reduction in breakdowns, or the reduction in, well, maybe not in breakdowns, but in like in driver downtime, that you can, the alerts have come in from the preventative maintenance and the fact that it's going to potentially save your life in an instance. I think it's completely worth it in every instance in that situation.
Sure. One of the things that I enjoyed about the forward thinking of the dealership I was at is the fact that they were okay with hosting basically like a lunch and learn. And we would have a lot of manufacturers. And I'll give you an example. Arvin Meritor. Meritor was one of the first companies that had a collision avoidance system, and they had put them on some of the ProStar Class 8s that we had, day cabs. So we would have ride and drive demonstrations on literally somebody just kind of taking your hands off the wheel and having cars swerve in front of the trucks, hard brake, with the driver basically just sitting there and letting the collision avoidance system kind of do its thing. So yeah, it's getting the directors of transportation, it's getting the transportation managers, it's acquainting and familiarizing all these folks with what the true advantages of this technology really brings to the table, that start to change that paradigm and change that mindset.
No, definitely. And, I think at the end of the day, though, the improvements and the benefits that come along with this, though, again, like a lot of these things are going to be ironed out in time. And that's the beauty of AI learning and everything else, is it gets smarter and it can compute a hell of a lot faster than any human being can. So, because the article the article closes out with saying it did reveal some issues with false alerts, and that's part of it, and that's going to happen, but it's going to get worked out. It's, in theory, should improve overall driver performance and vehicle performance out there, to keep these drivers running and, hell, keep people alive. I think that's what's I'm most excited about. But again, that one is from ttnews.com. NHTSA seeks okay to extend data collection for safety tech study. All right. On to the second article that we got going on here today. This is from transportdive.com. How smaller carriers are combating rising fuel costs. Fleets are looking for new ways to add efficiencies and get the most miles from each gallon. And then it goes on to talk about where it's at, $5. You know, this was clearly they pulled some old data on it because it's well over $5 a gallon right now. It's about $1,000 to fill up a truck right now, which is up about $200. It shows in this study. This is the data set that I'm pulling from. If you pay more than that, don't hold me to it. This is the information from this article here. A guy who they run 50 trucks. His name is Jerry Critchfield from Weber Logistics. He's a VP of transportation. Larger carriers can mitigate the fuel increases, but for smaller companies with less cash flow, it's difficult. For those companies with fewer than 5 trucks, this can run them out of business, is what he talks about. For those small carriers looking to stay financially afloat amid the soaring prices, there are a variety of operational and technical mitigation strategies that could help. Let's see, it says most small carriers have no choice to pass along the rising fuel costs to customers. But that's still 60 to 90 days before we can revamp those expenses. You know, we have weekly fuel bills. So it goes on to say that the fuel surcharges and everything else, sometimes there's up to a 42% markup. If you transfer that back to your customers, you can recover most of your fuel costs, but it is going to be that initial fronting of it. And again, it is that smaller carrier that's out there talking about that fuel surcharge and passing that along and having that line item broken out in there and asking for that. Because I think that, unfortunately, you're going to run into people who don't give you the fuel in it. All right. Like the realities of the industry are what they are. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm not saying that's everybody, but you're probably going to run into that. And then it also talks about what other things that our drivers can do. And, Andrew Teal brought this up a couple of weeks ago. It's just like with your cars, you need to make sure your tires are at the right pressure and good shape. New tires are more efficient when you have 18 of them driving long distances, and that can add up. So what are your thoughts on some of those things, Xavier?
Well, I know one of the great ways to offset these costs, and this is going to be a shameless plug, is by utilizing some of these paid repositionings for trailers that we have, because across the board, our fees that are being paid to reposition our units are anywhere from $300 to $400 to $500, all the way up to almost $2,000 for some of these moves. So that is a significant way to offset your costs, offset the fuel costs. So I realize these are limited lanes for people, but take a close look at what is out there, because it's definitely worth the savings. I mean, there's very few things that are out there right now that are going to help offset the costs and alleviate some of this pain. But certainly these paid repositions are a great approach to take if they're in the lanes you can use.
No, definitely. And they talk about this in the article, is about reducing your empty miles, because empty miles are obviously very costly. And not only that, but, another shameless plug to my other friends over at Emerge, same thing, getting that direct access to more freight that's out there to see where are there better reloads for your capacity, like just seeing what's out there. And it is having more in-depth conversations with, your customers, if you're going direct to them, or if you're a broker. Again, like I put out content about this all the time, reusing your setup carriers is vital to your long-term success, and continuously selling, because for some reason, I feel like this gets so lost on people, Xavier, is the fact that as a broker, my commodity that I sell is carriers. It is capacity. If those carriers are running for me, that means they're not running for my competition. That also means that my customers are going to want to work with me because I actually have the capacity to work with. My competition, therefore, does not. That's why I don't understand the not investing in a carrier partnership. I don't get that at all, because that's where I found the absolute most success with my brokerage book of business when I was a sales rep that was out there, is by reutilizing the same trucks over and over and over again, and then building that freight out there. I did a lot of freight out west, finding out, like, you would be shocked how much freight is out there on a lane by lane basis. But again, people chase markets. They're not invested in this long term. And I think that once you break down a lot of this stuff, this is going to help alleviate a lot of these headaches that we find ourselves in. Does it make it perfect? Absolutely not. There's nothing perfect. But what you can do is work through these. What you can do is minimize your risks and minimize these situations you find yourself in to eliminate most of these market shifts, the realities of a lot of these market shifts. Sure. That's what needs to be focused in on. And then furthermore, it is about educating people. At the end of the day, we only know what we know. I don't know everything. I'm never going to proclaim to know everything, but I know a lot of people who know a little bit about a lot of stuff. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but like it is expanding your network. It is working together collaboratively. That's the whole point of this show. It's about collaboration. It's about education. It's about moving this industry forward. There is no secrets here. We're not reinventing the fucking wheel here, you guys. All right. We're moving freight. Let's keep trucks running, because as a broker, if you don't have trucks, you don't have customers, no matter what. There's no other way you can spin it. And that's just the reality of it all. John Burkhalter has some good things to say here. Restructure your insurance spend on both your auto liability and cargo for cash flow advantages, deductives, captives. Again, you guys, John and his company are like, they're not like, they're friends of mine, and you need to reach out to them. Like, that's not a paid advertisement for them or anything like that, but John knows what the hell he's talking about. And those are the people that you need to be in contact with, and again, it's always about moving this stuff forward. Steven, Papa Freight. I don't know if he's in here. He's in Arizona, where you're going to be moving to here soon, Xavier, but he's out here in
one Arizona. Of these days.
Again, that one is from transportdive.com. It's just some information on some small tips and tricks on what small carriers can do to combat rising fuel costs during these times, because just because fuel's up doesn't mean you have to park. There are opportunities out there for you to stay in business and remain profitable, because that's what it is there's a lot of ebbs and flows. You've been around business and in sales a long time, Xavier. You don't make $1 million every single month, hypothetically speaking. Like, you're going to have some amount, but you got to weather it long term. You got to play the ebbs and the flows.
Yeah, you got to be crafty. You got to use all the tools that are at your disposal. If you are running telematics units, you want to closely look at your analytics. You want to see what's happening with your drivers. You want to see the driver tendencies. You want to see if these drivers have a tendency to speed, because that's going to impact your fuel economy. People that have a lot of braking events. I mean, there's a lot of small little nuggets of information that you closely watch to help coach your drivers increase the fuel economies that they're getting on their run. So you got to use all the tools that are at your disposal.
Yeah. And that's a phenomenal segue. I didn't even mean to tee it up this way, but the final article is from ccjdigital.com.
There you go.
How fleet managers can use data to save their company money. God, that was
who
smooth.
knew?
That was smooth right there. And it goes on, starts up. So, since supply chain issues are hampering the production and delivery of new equipment, fleet managers are having to make tough decisions about which assets to keep. The decisions on which assets to keep and which to replace need to be a strategic one, and there are multiple factors to consider. The annual difference between new and old trucks for maintenance and repairs can be as much as $10,500 or more. Since new trucks typically have better fuel economy, the difference of fuel costs can be $5,500, considering fuel is at over $5 a gallon, and that's just on average for a truck traveling 100,000 miles a year. The annual fixed cost of an older truck is going to be cheaper than that of a new truck, perhaps around $8,500. The annual running cost of the older truck, though, can at some instances be $7,500 higher than running the cost of a new truck. So, Xavier, what could a carrier do, and what would you guys advise them on? Because those guys who just don't, like, their truck's paid off, they don't want to trade it in, they don't want to deal with it, but what can they do to maybe have a more fuel efficient truck? Is there some additives that they can add into their tank? Is it like updating? I don't know, man. I'm just a fucking guy with a mic for most of this stuff.
Oh man, I'm not a technician, nor do I play one on TV. So,
well, you have these fools. No, I'm just kidding.
You've got to be on top of your preventive maintenance schedule.
Yeah.
You chapter and verse, and I do that with my own personal vehicles. I've been that way for probably about the last 15 or so years. It's just so critical to stay on top of all the moving components of your trucks to make sure you are running at an optimal level, because it's just going to come back to bite you in the rear end in a big way if you let things go and you wait for some sort of catastrophic breakdown to catch you by surprise.
Yeah,
there you go. Drive with an egg between your foot and the pedal. I like that.
It goes on to say, in addition to conducting a run cost comparison, fleet managers can create a data model considering the operational performance and running costs for each truck. Again, it's like data is key, and I think that, a lot of it's set out there. Some of my friends are, they talk about this, and, I've had this discussion with Andrew Teal a lot. There's a big difference between being a truck driver with a business as opposed to a business owner that drives a truck. And the same thing as a broker. There's a big difference between a sales rep that owns a company as a broker than a owner of a business that also sells freight, because it is knowing that and tracking that data. And that's key. Like, and that's the thing is it's like, I think it is reaching out to your partners and seeing what information's out there. If you don't know, not everybody out there wants to see you fail. All right. There's a lot of people out there. Now, I would argue 95% of this industry wants to do the right thing. All right. And they do the right thing. But unfortunately, that 5% gets 95% of the fucking attention. And that's what everybody's attracted to is all that bullshit. But, there's a way for you to do this. There's a way for you to track this data. There's a way for you to see which lanes are the most profitable based on the rolling 12-month cycle. Don't look at the peaks and the valleys of chasing a freight market, for example, because that is going to skew the data. But if you pull it on a rolling 12-month cycle, you're going to see there's not a lot of variance out there. I'm going to be going a little bit more in depth on that on my live show about teaching about freight markets and how to read them properly. Again, is it going to be the end all solution? Absolutely not. But it's going to give people some further clarification on how to read a lot of these stuff because data is key. All right. Data is so key and you need to use it. And there's a ton of great information that's out there. Hell, I guarantee some of the technology you're already paying for right now does this, but you don't even know about that. So talk to your providers, talk to your partners out there, see what data, what reports you can start running right now to see where you can improve your overall bottom line. Because we can't control fuel costs as an industry, but what we can control is what we can do to conserve the burn as much as possible.
Sure.
And that is it reducing deadhead. If your trailer's in the shop, it is using products like VHub to go out there and stay running during these times. Let's see. John Burkhalter's got another great point here. Companies with vehicle maintenance alert scores and or equipment issues should work on pre-post trips inspection with drivers. Insurance carriers love to see the older problem child units replaced with newer trucks.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the AQMD, especially out here.
So we, again, it's this is another really good article. They got some good talking points in there for people out there. Hell, it's always about that continual education as well. Like, yeah, I've been in this industry for a long time, but I don't know everything. All right. And I'm learning something new every single day and to weather the storms of market shifts. And for a lot of stuff that we can't control, it is about that continual education out there. Again, that article is on ccjdigital.com, how fleet managers can use data to save their company money, because that's what it is right now. It's about lowering your overhead in any way possible while keeping your trucks on the road. Or for brokers, it's how can you increase your market share with your customers? How can, because it's not about like, there's a big difference when they're like, oh, I added revenue. Adding revenue doesn't keep you in business. All right. You need fucking money. You need profits. And that's what you got to see is what can you do to continuously grow in these markets? Because like the reality is somebody's going to make it through this and somebody's going to make a lot of money during this time, and that's the thing is there's an opportunity in any market. Renee, what up? Teal says, aggregate your data at the truck level, not the fleet. You'll find the problem trucks that can get hidden in the overall. Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
That's a great point. Is looking at it on a individual basis, and same thing from a broker's. Look at it as a lane by lane basis and stuff like that. Like where are your biggest cost buckets that are out there, and how can you improve that? Sometimes it is walking away from certain freight. At the end of the day, are you a transaction or are you an asset? That's the way you kind of look at things.
Absolutely. And speaking of assets, don't let anybody out there tell you there are no trailers available. Besides the repositionings that we keep banging the drums with over VHub, we have trailers available. We have 53-foot dry vans that are available for 12 months, 36 months, heck, even 60 months. We've got them. They might not all be on the platform, but guess what? You've got somebody like me that can network with our entire membership base, and we can identify the fleets that have ever-changing inventories. I mean, that's part of the dynamic of the membership that we have is the networking aspect of what we do to identify assets for folks that need them. So with the repositionings, with the extended rentals, even used assets through our finance side, we're able to liquidate assets for people. And consequently, we can then make them available for folks that want to buy. So we wear a lot of hats over here on the VHub side, and we can help in many different ways.
Yeah, Teal, we can always find 53-foot dry vans with lift gates. Those are awesome. They're everywhere. No, man, I'm right there with you. And again, like I'm very cautious about who I partner with on a lot of this stuff, because at the end of the day, I want to be aligned with companies who are about progress, who are about education, who are about helping the little guy, that mom and pop operation. Cause that's where I come from. I'm from the working class, Xavier.
Sure.
I've had a
You and me
job,
both, brother.
a paid job since I was 12 years old. You know, my first job was picking up fucking trash, you know, and it's like, I just know that
I was
there's
an
a lot
usher
of,
at a movie studio.
yeah.
Or
Well,
at
at
a
least you
movie
were in air
video.
conditioning, man. I was in the
was.
fucking humidity of northern Wisconsin. And it just reeked like cow shit everywhere. But yeah, man, you know, that's the thing is it's like there's opportunity out there no matter what, you guys. There's a lot of great companies who want to help you, who have value adds to your organizations, whether you're a broker or carrier alike. And again, I'm all about progress. I'm all about moving this industry forward. So yeah, you guys reach out to Xavier. All right. Reach out to Xavier. He's the one who I said I wanted to put a face behind his name. You know, they're a great company over there. And again, we're live every single weekday morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, the top transportation morning show, breaking down 3 industry
That's
articles.
right. Number one. Oh, number one.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate you guys all so much for your continued support. Share the show. All right. If you saw value in this, share this show out there, because that's how we're going to get this following up and rolling.
Tell your friends to tune in. Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
Thanks so much for having us.
They got a lot of trucking up there in northern Wisconsin, Renee. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. We're